Cool. Well, thanks so much everyone for coming. This is the first meeting of HuES. I'm super stoked to have you all here. I said, please sign in at the front. Didn't have a sign up sheet. That's totally fine. We can do that after. But just wanted to get an understanding of who all came and is interested in future events. But just as a brief agenda, we're going to do a little intro and hopefully a non-cringy icebreaker. And then we'll move into the CSF. They're going to do a intersectional sustainability study, which will hopefully serve as a foundation for you to view all future sustainability topics through a justice-focused and intersectional lens. And then Lauren's going to pop up, talk a little bit about the SAP or the Sustainability Action Plan update, and we'll do a little like HuES visioning, because obviously first meeting, this world's our oyster. We can do whatever we want with this. I want to understand what you all would like to get out of this as well. And then we'll have a mini RSO fair because we have some lovely representatives from RSOs who share their content with you all and hopefully get you engaged. But as an overview, I think most of you already know HuES is a sustainability focused student group that is led by the UWS team. And hopefully we are going to be sharing relevant topics with you as college students at the UW that intersect with sustainability and really emphasize what the true scope of these are. And again, focusing on these topics through an intersectional and justice focused lens. It's open to all UW students and all levels of sustainability knowledge. You can know absolutely nothing. You could know a lot. Anything and everything is welcome, and you will all hopefully get something out of it. And we're just meeting once a month, so pretty low commitment. And for the icebreaker, please, if you have your phone or computer, take out that and then type in this quiz link and complete the quiz. Thank you so much for taking part in that. Just wanted to showcase like a fun quiz / would highly recommend getting all of your friends to do it. It's been really fascinating to see which of my friends are jalapenos versus carrots, and you should try it out at home. But
A quiz?
I did not make the quiz. I wish. I am not that smart or creative, but hope you enjoyed. And we're actually going to go ahead and get started. And before we start, didn't realize I didn't introduce myself. Hi, my name is Emily. I've met most of you. I'm the sustainability engagement and project specialist, and I will be leading HuES. And so I'm definitely a point of contact if you ever have any feedback, have questions, have suggestions, all that good stuff, please come to me. And that is inclusive of UW Bothell and UW Tacoma. We have Shahzad and Julie who are managing that on each of their respective campuses. So thank you very much for that. And for today, Maddie is going to be representing CSF, or the Campus Sustainability Fund, and teaching you all about intersectional sustainability. I did. Perfect. So Maddie, you want to hop on up and showcase the good stuff?
Yes, for sure. And Tatiana is also going.
And Tatiana. Oh my God, hi.
Surprise. Thank you.
How exciting.
Did you get access to see
Do you want to start? What is?
All right. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for coming out. It's been a pleasure getting to meet y'all as we do this vegetable activity. My name is Maddie. I use she, they pronouns, and I am very grateful to be hosting this part of the event with. You want to introduce?
Hi, I'm Tatiana. I use she, her pronouns. I am the manager of program operations here. It's a temporary role. I graduated in June for my master's program. So it's nice to see you all, who I know, and everyone else that's new.
Yeah, so we are part of the CSF. I forgot to introduce myself. I'm the new associate program director. So Tatiana was the associate program director last year, and I'm taking over for this year. But the CSF, we are a student-led, student-funded program at the University of Washington. We center on justice-led sustainability. So we'll be talking a little bit more about intersectional sustainability here.
We have a clicker. Are you our clicker?
I'm your clicker.
Okay.
Okay, so for our agenda today, we're gonna go through a quick reflective question. It's just gonna be asking about sustainability and intersectionality. And then after that, we're gonna build our toolbox. So the point of this session and this case study is to introduce y'all to tools that you can use in critically examining and thinking about case studies. So also just anything sustainability, like initiatives or sustainability-led programs, anything you can use these tools. They're basically to identify false solutions, which we will go over after that. Applied learning. Well, applied learning, that's the case study that we'll be going over. And then after that, we'll be going over ways that we can think about justice-centered solutions versus false solutions. After that, we'll go into some tools and resources that we have at the CSF. Tatiana, if you have anything else you want to add?
No? It's good. Are we recording for?
Yes, and can I actually ask you to
Speak
stand
into the
closer
mic?
to each other, so I don't.
For
have to-
sure.
You can be on the videos, and it can be on the other side if you want. The room should be picking up sound everywhere.
Okay. Great. I think I got it.
Cool, thank you.
Okay, so my first question to you all is, by a raise of hands, who knows what intersectionality is? Okay, I'm seeing some hands up. Is anybody willing to share maybe their definition of intersectionality? Yes, there is a definition there. Just a brief overview of intersectionality. It's basically a lens where you apply your intersectional identity. So we'll have a bunch of identities such as race, ethnicity, gender identity, ability, etc. And these will all interact with each other to create unique experiences of oppression and privilege. So Kimberly Crenshaw is the person who coined this term, and she's an amazing American activist. She does a lot of work with race and gender justice, and yeah, and I think intersectionality is a very, very important concept to think about as we go through this, and just as we go through life in general, because it shapes the way we perceive the world and we think about the world. So my question to you all is, what does sustainability mean to you? And that's something that you can reflect on. And I also encourage you all to take some time to think about how your intersectional identities relate with sustainability. So if you would like, we invite you to take the next 5 minutes to just jot down. We have poster papers on each side, on each table, and then online we have a whiteboard. Just jot down or draw or write a poem or whatever feels best to you on what sustainability means to you. Okay, so if we can start wrapping up with our reflections, we can go on to the next part of the exercise, which is go ahead and pair up, or if you're online,
Share.
well, yeah, you can go ahead and share. Introduce yourself if you don't know each other, and then ask each other, what did you come up with? And then how might your intersectional identities shape your perspectives on sustainability?
Did everyone already share, or was this individual time? Okay, can we do big group discussion? Would someone be willing to volunteer what you came up with and reflections on your identity?
So we kind of just talked about sustainability as a general umbrella term that involves like long-term intergenerational change as well as like resilience. So finding ways to incorporate a bunch of different people's opinions, like collaborative ways, and to bridge different lived experiences to create solutions that benefit everyone else, like bringing all intersectional identities to the table and figuring out how we can work together.
Beautiful.
And anyone else?
And you want to share? Sorry.
I can share, yeah, no. Well, I feel like for me, I just kind of thought about how like I as a person just kind of think about how my actions can affect like the people around me and stuff like that. So I just kind of think that for me, it was like thinking about the privilege that I have to have access to like sustainable practices, such as like not buying single-use like plastics and just stuff like that, I think.
Thanks. Thank you for sharing.
Awesome. Yep.
All right, so as we go into our next piece, which is how to identify false solutions, and we'll go more into that. Tatiana will speak on that a little bit, but we're gonna take a little bit of time to ground. So if you all want to just take a deep breath, the reason that we're doing this is systems are generally designed to function and be consumed in the way that they exist. And a lot of the case that we're gonna be going into is something that may bring up some feelings or maybe a little bit heavy. And so, yeah, it's important to keep in mind that as we're learning and growing and going through this case, there's no judgment. Tatiana actually said this quote yesterday.
Don't quote me.
There's no gain in judgment, except for those in power. And so we're here to explore, question, and think deeply together. We would love to, for you to give yourself grace in learning and growing, as well as discussions, just leading with curiosity as well as. And
Yeah, so like we are providing just one example. There's a lot of cases that you all are going to come across as you're at school here, and we're just hoping to demonstrate how you can use one tool that we're talking about today that will be helpful across topics as you learn them. So first question is, what is a false solution? Has anyone heard this term before? Brilliant. So it is a solution that appears, there's a lot of different ways to define it. I think this is probably the easiest way. So it's a solution that appears to address a climate problem, but it doesn't solve the root issue. So therefore it's a false solution to our identified problem. It often occurs because we've actually misidentified this problem and are instead solving a proxy issue. So an example that many will know, I think, are electric vehicles. So I'll pose these first 4 questions together and then we can answer them. So first, what problem do we think electric vehicles solve? We can just shout out.
Emissions from cars.
Emissions from cars, yes. Do we think this is the root problem or is this a proxy problem?
Proxy, because like there's a lot of different emissions from a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm.
Cars are just one source.
Okay, other reasons? Isaac?
It's also like, because we're built on like a car-based society,
Mm-hmm.
we can instead try and solve a planning issue or the public transport issue instead of just replacing fossil fuel-based cars.
Okay, for people online, the answer was we can do more than just trying to replace fossil fuels from cars. We can also look at larger things like our infrastructure. So, perfect. Another question I would encourage you all to ask to yourself when you're trying to discover if this is a root issue or a proxy is who is offering the solution. So in our case, we know that electric vehicles are being they're being led by most of the big fossil fuel industries. And so we are likely to know that this is not going to be a real solution, but one that will continue to allow them to profit. And so, okay. So the real problem, Isaac did say, but vehicles emit greenhouse gases and there are too many of them. So what are some other solutions to this? We identified public transit, other ideas.
Creating communities where using like a form of like long-term transit in general isn't as necessary, like walkability.
Mm-hmm. Emily?
That was it.
All right. So yes, so the solutions to this are actually trying to remove the vehicles from the road. So increasing public transit, creating bike-friendly and walkable built environments, car sharing services even. And then from there, we can electrify what is left. if we're still wanting to kind of go this route. And so that looks at first removing the volume and then basically knowing what we know, which is electric vehicles do in fact reduce the tailpipe emissions from cars. But if we have as many single occupancy vehicles as we do right now, it's not actually addressing the issue. So the case study we're going to focus on today is actually from Washington State. It is the Makah tribe. For those of you that study environmental sciences, you might learn about this later in your time at school. Have any of you already discussed this? Okay, so let us know if we're doing it differently, because I actually have not consulted your professor that leads this. So for some quick context, and for people online, Damon, if you can share the resources with them. The Makah Reservation exists in kind of the northwesternmost point of Washington State. You'll also see up north that there's Vancouver Island, which is, there's like a sister tribe there that obviously when the US and then Canada were established, they were kind of split up. This is very common.
They're not seeing this.
They're not
person.
seeing it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Can I have the next slide?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're just presenting to you this case study kind of with the materials that we put on your table. Typically, when we're looking at a case study, we want to identify like who are the actors at play. And so we've given you a non-exhaustive list. They're all the little ones that are cut out. And so feel free to kind of look at those. And then the other thing that we wrote out for you is kind of the base timeline of the very key turning points and kind of this case study and development. Also non-exhaustive, but succinct enough that you can get an idea. So take some time. We can do like 8 minutes for you all to have reading time. You can skim alone and then you can analyze the case in pairs. But basically what we want to look at is like how the case was developed, your reflections towards it, feelings about how actors are playing with each other, and then key things in this timeline. Final thoughts being written down. Suggestions for us, we love it all. Would someone like to share well, we can do first, like, what were some of your initial thoughts reading through the materials? What stood out to you? Yes,
Sorry, I totally just took a bite. My bad.
as you should. We should be eating too.
In 2003, the Makah tribe creates the Marine Mammal Program to develop science. I'm curious, why is science in like quotes?
Yeah, I put the science in quotes. Partly I think like, it's really important, I believe, for us to be questioning what is and isn't deemed or categorized as science. So in the case of this is a practice that they've had for thousands of years, and they're not able to continue it because they're not able to basically pass the environmental test because they haven't been able to showcase science in the language of the agency that's requesting it that is satisfactory.
Gotcha.
So they're making this agency to try to basically translate what they know historically and within their own culture to basically meet the scientific standard.
Thank you so much.
Okay, if everyone's eager to share what they think the problem is.
I think it's really intriguing and worth noting that the extinction of gray whales only came from commercial fishermen. Who, I'm assuming are likely settlers. And like you said, the practice has been going on for thousands of years in indigenous communities. And prior to that, there were not issues around extinction that are listed at least in this timeline.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and that's another thing that like there's a lot of resources and we have them all on our website to kind of explore after our session today. I think, you know, with a lot of species, there's natural ebbs and flows in whether a species has a lot of population at a given moment or if it's, you know, reducing. But definitely, like, from our current knowledge, the big plateau and the endangerment and the almost extinction of the species was connected to the commercial fishing, which on the timeline led to the creation of those two regulatory agencies, which were trying to basically address this situation. I may have given away our problem, but if someone would vocalize it for me. Anyone online? Okay, so more prompts. Is the problem in this case study, the way that it's been presented to you, a root problem, a symptom, a contributing factor? Isaac?
When anyone presented this case before, the way that the problem was framed was kind of like, where is the balance between indigenous rights
Mm-hmm,
and conservation?
mm-hmm,
It's something that really you can see pop up in like the prevalence of the commercial fishing industry and the prevalence of conservation groups, majority white oftentimes, and this kind of head-to-head framing that comes. And when I think about that, I think that it is a symptom of the problem of like figuring out where tribal sovereignty sits in a current like Western dominated land.
mm-hmm. A great reflection.
I think, yeah, connected to that, this is like a symptom of just tribal voices not being heard in like local government, also federal government. So you see the creation of a commission and also a law, but you don't know how much like actual active tribal voices were implemented in those decision-making processes. So it just goes to show that even though they have all this history and this culture, they're not really represented. These really important decisions.
Okay, two questions for the group. What did you think about the asterisks on the treaty in the timeline? And then what did you think about the actor that was just listed as government? Yes.
Government feels like an oversimplification because a lot of times state governments and federal governments are going to be different, and then tribal governments are going to have a completely different perspective potentially from either of those. So it just feels very reductive, and potentially it should probably be split up to more accurately present the situation.
Mm-hmm. I like the call out of the tribal government and state and federal, and then NOAA was. Some speakers are at low volume. Okay, we'll do our best to repeat. Thank you. And NOAA was specifically called out, which is a federal government agency, but they were called out because of a program they have implemented. So, sorry, was that a hand up in the back?
Yeah,
Yes,
sorry.
jump in, please.
No, I was gonna say between like, just worth noting that like treaties have the highest precedence, like the legal precedence, so like they supersede everything. Like
They should, right?
yeah, theoretically.
Yep. And so there was also a note about the reduction in land that the tribe has access to. And so I guess what did you all think about that as well, related to basically the over 400 square feet of land that was ceded to the US government to secure their right to continue whaling? I guess when we think about trying to characterize the problem, and if we think we're actually addressing the real problem, or if we think we're talking about some byproduct that has been latched onto as a problem. Glad I'm not interviewing right now. There's so many leading questions. Isaac.
When I think about the 1855 treaties, and Mia Bay is like one of many around that time, there was a lot of exploitation and miscommunication as part of that. The white settlers who were writing those treaties were largely in charge of the conversations and of the translation and how that would be enforced. But something that stands out and what makes this case so like important is that the Makah tribe really took the efforts to try and enshrine this right to whaling as one of the things that was required for any land to be ceded at all. And the fact that it was fully unique, not just in Washington, but I think in the entire continental US, this explicit right to whaling as a strong part of their culture and the need for subsistence. So it is something that really has a big influence on their ability to continue both enforcing the terms of the treaty, but also trying to reassert their cultural livelihood and also act as something that could be potential stepping stones for other tribes in the future that have similar stipulations and treaties, maybe not for whales, but for fishing rights and other sorts of ways that the US government has tried to take advantage of tribal.
Yeah, thank you for that. And then before we move on, I'll also just note it's the reason we like cut out the actors as well so that you could play around with them is they also change in their position depending on where we are in the timeline. So currently in 2024 with the June, basically in June, there was a waiver that NOAA did end up issuing that gives the Makah tribe ability to hunt 25 whales over a period of 10 years. Their regular rate of hunting was 5 whales per year when they were allowed to. And so like this is a win. It also is not what the regular rates were. And now you don't have as many conservation groups that are coming out against this. We still have the 3 that are listed and active at the top of that. Those 3 are still against them, including a local chapter for whale conservation. But then there are other larger national organizations like the Nature Conservancy and Sierra Club that previously were against when in the 1990s, when they were able to get the approval from the International Commission, a lot of groups came out basically saying that, you know, because we're basically misidentifying what the issue is and tribes are being attacked for basically trying to practice something that they've been doing for thousands of years because we have this issue of overfishing and it's been met with regulatory requirements that are not being considerate of, you know, the treaty agreements, which should be really the supreme agreement that we're looking at. And so it's fun to have that as an exercise of seeing like as the actors that are in the venue, how they're shifting in allegiance and preference throughout time and as things develop. So we know this answer, but does stopping tribes from harvesting whales solve the whale population decline? No, not really. And so Maddie will lead us through how do we actually create justice-centered solutions?
So I first want to start off with, I know that we kind of talked through this, but what are some solutions that you think could solve this issue? Maybe something that is more justice-centered and we can also like feel free to raise your hand and call out, or if you want to reflect, you can do that as well.
Also, if you want to look at the other side of your sheet, we do have some prompts for you to reflect on. We can read those out. I need to do that.
This is like a really great tool guide that you can use throughout just any other case study or sustainability issue that you think want to critically examine.
So reorienting around the real problem, which is the whale population decline, and knowing that has a million things that contribute to this, but this is the problem that we're seeing in front of us as root as we can get right now.
like a minute to just think through this, and if anybody would like to share, feel free to. So as we wrap up, we can just go ahead and like think about what some solutions we came up with that could solve this issue. In the interest of time, I'm just gonna move forward and we can go through this as well, unless anybody had something that they wanted to say or share. Yes, go ahead.
Gray whales are bottom feeders, and so pollution is a really big issue for them because they're getting like everything that's in like the mud and stuff on the bottom of the surface. So like that's like kind of a systemic problem compared to like losing individual whales that can affect like the health of all the whales and their reproductive health. And so that's potentially something that would be more effective to focus on.
Yes, I love what you said about it being a systemic issue. It's very important to this kind of conversation.
Pollution, other things in the ecosystem, right? Like what whales are eating.
So,
Oh, sorry, one of the time. Your clicker left, I left.
okay. Oh, I see.
I'm saying I'll click. You, sorry.
All right, no, you're good, you're good. So the question is, how can we work to create justice-centered solutions? And I really like what you said about thinking about it as a systemic issue, because that is very, very true. We all, just historically, Black, Indigenous communities of color have been bearing the brunt of the impacts, and they are also not the folks who are contributing to environmental issues necessarily. And so the first point that would be really, really important is to restore these rights to these communities. And just also keeping in mind systemic issues around colonialism and environmental racism, capitalism, making sure that we're shifting that power and that focus in solutions towards community-led solutions. So another thing that I wanted to note about shifting power and decision-making to communities impacted is that it's very, very important to take into consideration consent as well, and just making sure that these communities are, wanting to have that responsibility, because oftentimes I think folks are turning to certain communities, especially Indigenous communities, for fixes right now, especially like as sustainability and environmental issues are becoming more of a problem. And so it's very, very important just to be mindful and respectful of that. Breaking down silos and co-designing iterative solutions. So this goes back to shifting power and decision-making, just making sure that these solutions are very much, intertwined and like made together. Also making sure that industries are taking accountability for their actions, centering regenerative community-based land and resource management, focusing on root causes and long-term impacts. This is really important because, I think on the guide, it says, is it a quick fix? If it is a quick fix, that's something that you might want to like rethink as a solution. And that's because, as we're going through these solutions, we want to think about how different communities and different identities are being impacted. Prioritizing reciprocity, healing, and resilience is also very important, because in order to create sustainability, we need to have sustainability within our own communities and within our own selves. And then policy reform through community-led social environmental justice lens. So as you can see, a big focus of these solutions is it being community-centered and community-led. And I just want to field the question, what do y'all think that you can do? And I also want to acknowledge that, the burden doesn't have to lie on the individual, but, it's very much like a systemic issue, but I just wanted to field that question out to y'all. Yes.
I think a simple one is just kind of raising awareness of it with people that you know or your family or friends. Because I didn't even know a lot of the things that were covered today, so just being more informed and sparking those discussions might be more important. Yes.
Great reflection, staying informed and just learning. Yes. Okay.
To add on to that, I feel like listening to those voices who are personally affected by those changes, those systemic changes, because it also raises awareness, and gives, like, I guess, the power back to them, and things like that.
Yes, so for those online, they said centering the voices, listening to the voices of those most impacted and giving the power back to them. And I think that is a very, very wonderful reflection. Yes, I see a hand over here.
Yeah, I think like thinking out loud and like coming up with ideas and solutions with the people around you. Cause like if the whole point is to come up with something community based, but you're just like in your room, like in Instagram comments, like you're not really engaging with your. And like in academia, like everyone does their own thing. So it's really easy to be like, oh, these are my ideas, these are my projects. But you know, not so much when you're trying to come up with community solutions.
Yes, that is a big one, having these conversations and really like diving into that. Yes, I see a hand over here.
Yeah, just adding on to that, advocacy work is such an amazing tool that we are like so like in the middle of being in Seattle and especially at UW. Like we have a really big advocacy group who are involved in like land back movements and things like that. So just getting yourself involved in anything, any way possible is great.
Yes, loving these answers, advocacy work, getting involved. I think I saw a hand over here.
I would say like recognizing your privilege and using that to like the advantage of being able to spread more information or knowledge about these like things going on in the world.
Yes, going back to privilege and just really understanding your own identity and how that can impact or how you can use that to, you know, shape policy or like talk to the communities.
We're getting an expensive education we should share, especially with your friends across majors.
And then online, Julie said contacting policymakers and representatives.
Yes.
Yes.
And then I'll add like a quick reflection for what CSF feels like we should do. I think this year we're focusing a lot on really the educational part and we're experimenting with a lot of different methods. So let us know which ones are exciting and which ones are boring, and which ones don't actually make a lot of sense. So I think, you know, trying to translate a lot of the information in a very accessible manner is a lot of what we hope to do, but also there's like base vocabulary, I think, that a lot of these conversations are kept around. So still like help check us on what is not clear. And then,
thank you,
yeah,
Tatiana.
Maddie will share some solutions, actually. This is like an exciting case because we just had the win just in June, and then there's some other things, that are encouraging.
Thank you, Tatiana. Yeah, so I wanted to share about the Bolt decision of 1974 and the Graffiti decision of 1994. And I just wanted to ask if anybody here knows about it or has heard about them. So I'm seeing a hand over here.
To consult you.
Yeah, like, I don't want to put you on the spot, but
I know the Bolt decision was really important for environmental justice. And I don't remember anything else because it was a year ago that we had that discussion.
So yes, like you said, very important for environmental justice and definitely something that is not talked about a lot. So I'll just go into a little bit of the detail here. And I'm sharing this because I know that sometimes like these cases and learning about different false solutions can be discouraging, but there are a lot of examples of really great wins within the environmental justice movement. And then these two being some of them. So both of them are very closely tied. They're both decisions made around reaffirming treaty rights for Indigenous people around fishing for the Bolt decision and then harvesting shellfish for the Graffiti decision. And it basically gave back the right for tribes to catch or harvest 50% of Washington State salmon, steelhead trout, and shellfish. It also established a co-management system between tribes and state agencies. So I heard a lot of y'all talking about like co-management and involving community earlier. So this is one of the cases that did that. And basically, it's been really, really great for today because it has shifted the power to more of, Indigenous communities being able to really lead these really great conservation and fishery management initiatives.
Final slide, Madigan, we're getting kicked out.
Yes, final slide. So last question to y'all, just a huge recap. What is a justice-centered solution? If you're online, feel free to just type it in the chat. If you're here, yeah, feel free to share out.
We'll lead them through.
I see maybe a hand. That's okay, and it's okay. This is a very like judgment-free.
I think a justice-centered solutions understanding the community that was impacted, especially the cultural background of them. And in the macaws case, I think a way to understand that, and I'm a resource share here, is like there's exhibits, I think, in where their reservation is, but also we have the Burke Museum too, and they have a lot of like artifacts from the macaw tribe, and you could see how like their culture is very centered around the whale that they hunt. Like all their art and all their spiritual beings is like connected to the whale, because the whale wasn't just like, they weren't just like animals to hunt. It was like a whole like spiritual process for them before, and to understand that, I feel like their like justice could flourish from there. And I forgot my other point, but like
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for that. And you really nicely captured it. Community-driven change, so listening to community that addresses systemic injustices and shifts the power to those most impacted by environmental and social harm.
Yes, all of this will be on our website and you can look through it. I do want to say we have brilliant Professor Charlotte Cote who teaches at UW and has a book about this. She's part of the Vancouver tribe. And then we have other things on our website. Check it out and look at our Instagram. And if you are bored tonight, you should look up Fish Wars in Washington State. It's sad but very entertaining conflict-based read. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, big thanks to all of CSF for doing that. Super appreciate it. And we're gonna finish up. Wanted to quickly highlight the SAP. Lauren's gonna talk about that super quick. Have any of you heard about the SAP or the Sustainability Action Plan? Gorgeous. Then you're gonna love next meeting.
Thank you all for coming out to this meeting. It's really cool to see everyone so passionate about sustainability. So my name is Lauren Schultz. I am a planning and policy specialist in the Office of Sustainability, Emily, Lisa, and Damon. And I wanted to quickly share a bit about what we're embarking on over the next 18 months, which is a new sustainability action plan. The university currently has an action plan that was developed 5 years ago. It was a 5-year plan. We learned a lot over those 5 years, some lessons learned that will inform this new plan in some amazing ways. So we're really going to focus on it being data-driven, so using the best science and UW kind of specific data, but also we're really focused on telling the story of our university and making sure that we're engaging as many people as we can in the development of the plan itself, so that it reflects the needs and priorities of the whole tri-campus system. So to do that, we're gonna be having many different ways to engage in the planning process. One of them, and it's a little hard to see on this slide, I apologize, but is we're starting with visioning. So looking out to 2050, 25 years from now, what would be an ideal state for the University of Washington, in the state of Washington? What would it look like? What would it feel like? How would it operate? What would students learn? How would they learn? We want to think really bold so that we can have these really big ideas that can then drive a more kind of narrow or more centered vision over the next 5 years. So that way we can kind of be a little more aggressive in this next action plan, and hopefully meet some really big goals sooner rather than later, given the, the state of the climate. So with that, our next HuES meeting, we'll be going through a very tailored visioning session for you all that attend, and we'll be going over kind of specific categories of the plan, which include kind of academics, how you learn, a little bit about how the UW operates. So things like energy consumption, greenhouse gas emissions, food systems. I know all of these things you all probably have some really great ideas about, and we want to hear from them or hear about them from you. And so we'll set up a really engaging session with you all. I also, let's see. Yeah, so just put some slides in here to think about, ahead of that meeting in a month or so, how has the UW changed over the last, 50, 25 years, pretty drastically. And it's just fun to think about it visually. But I want you all to come, in the next month with some, don't put barriers on how you think about the future and sustainability. We want to keep it really open and not, say, well, but, we can't do that because of this, because of that. We want to kind of put that aside and just let ourselves think big. So, I don't know if any of you have seen Back to the Future. I just saw it for the first time this year, but a good quote from that is, roads, where we're going, we don't need roads. So again, in that mindset of just, don't let yourself get in the way of yourself. So, oh yeah, okay. I wanted to, can I pull up the community? Okay, where's your Slack? Okay. Should we show it after?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so afterwards, Lauren is going to have a little QR code if you're interested in signing up for any of the visioning sessions outside of just the one during HuES. So please go to her if you're interested. It's a really meaningful and easy way to have like a substantial impact on the UW campus, both in Tacoma, Bothell, and the Seattle campus. So please go to Lauren. She's awesome. She'll respond to you maybe. And then this is going to be a little combined with our RSO folks coming up and sharing. But during this next little bit, because we're actually pretty close to time, we'd love for you all to grab a sticky note that is on your table and just write down what you hope to get out of HuES, what direction you hope to see HuES go in, if there's anything you want included or taken out, like whatever. This, again, is brand new, clearly. And we really want this to be more tailored to what you want as students. I'm just here because I got hired and I want to be here and be a meaningful resource to you all. So tell me what you want out of this and we will pivot if needed. Happy to do it. Also, general feedback, would love to hear it. I think it's back there. It'll just hurt my feelings. But so while you all are writing that down, would love to have a couple representatives from the RSOs that are here today. Adalia unfortunately had to leave, but she is a representative of SEED. So if you are in any of the on-campus dorms, that is an excellent program to get involved in, and they're meeting for the first time tonight, actually. So if you are not sick of talking about sustainability, would recommend heading out to talk during their meeting or check it out. But yeah, so write down those, and then RSO folks will come up. We have Washpurg, SEED not here, and then UW Pantry. They're excellent resources to ask questions, connect, get involved if you are particularly passionate about any of the stuff that they talk about. So gonna open up the floor to you all. Please feel free to come up, give like a quick elevator pitch, who you are, introduce yourself, and then yeah, go for it.
Take the podium.
I was doing a class rap and the teacher gave me his like mic that he clips his shirt and I was like, okay, I did theater, I can project, but sure. All right, hi, I'm Tegan. I am with WashPIRG. WashPIRG stands for Washington Public Interest Research Groups. We are part of the Public Interest Network umbrella. We're under the student sectors and then Washington State. We have another chapter at Evergreen College in Olympia. We have our campus organizer who goes between the two. WashPIRG is a grassroots student-led, student-run activism group on campus. Most related to sustainability are 3 of our campaigns. We have an Earth and Energy campaign, which is very much focused on like clean energy stuff, general environmental stuff. They did work with the Re-RAB Act last year, which would have put responsibility for plastic like dealing with single-use plastics and stuff on producers rather than consumers. Our New Voters Project, we are hoping to register 1,000 people to vote before the election. And that's really important for sustainability because like make your voice heard, yay. And then Save the Orcas. I am the campaign coordinator for Save the Orcas campaign. As you guys were talking today about equitable sustainability, justice-centered solutions, a lot of it really resonates with the Save the Orcas campaign. One of the main things that we're focusing on is the lower Snake River dams in the Columbia River Basin. It's a whole thing, but the Klamath dams were just removed. The Yurok tribe in Oregon spent the last 20 years trying to get them removed. People have been trying to get the Snake River dams removed since before they were built. They tried to prevent it. But that's just one of the things we work on. We work on a couple other things, but yeah, if you want to come up and talk to me, I'll be here. We also have a lot of resources on the table. And then our other campaigns are affordable healthcare and hunger and homelessness and affordable textbooks because we're students and we want to be able to go to school without paying for a textbook for $500. Yeah.
Those really cute stickers.
We have so many stickers, please. And we have bottle openers over there. In case you buy like a glass Coke bottle
Right.
from the DM and then they don't tell you that it's not a twist top and then you spend 20 minutes trying to open it because you don't have a bottle opener. True story.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rachel. I'm the student director for the UW Food Pantry. So we are in Poplar Hall is our location. We provide food to anybody in the UW community. So anyone with a Husky ID can come in once a week and put together a basket of food. And our goal is to provide supplemental nutrition to anybody who is on campus or who visits us from off campus as part of our community. We're actually working with WashPIRG, their hunger and homelessness campaign. They're doing a trick or can event on Halloween. So if you're interested in dressing up and walking around and going door to door to trick or treat, but to collect food, definitely let us know and we'll get you involved in that. Other ways to be involved, we love our volunteers and we would especially appreciate people to host food drives for us. Every year that we've been in the Poplar Hall location, our demand has doubled, and that's true for this year too. So we see about 700 people a week, and that's up from like 400, 500 last year, and we expect it to continue going up. And so the hosting of the food drives is a really important way to support us and to get involved and to learn about your community and the people who come and see us. So yeah, I have a visitor sign up and we also have some stickers and I'm happy to answer any questions you have about the pantry or getting involved or food security on campus.
I had one thing real quick.
Yeah.
Our Instagram is washpirg_UW. It has links to our Discord and everything and like the trick or can event that we're partnering with UW Food Pantry for. It should all be on there. I realized I should say how to contact us if you don't take an interest card.
Yes. Perfect. And yeah, so that actually about wraps it up. An hour and something minutes in. Again, if you have any feedback, you can take as many sticky notes as you want and put them all over the place. We have a learning aspect, personal growth, community and general feedback, big papers. Just put your sticky notes wherever you feel is most applicable to what you wrote. And then any questions before we head out? Oh, yes.
There's a staff town hall on the 20th also, is that right?
Yep,
Yeah.
I was just gonna plug that. Good catch, thank you. Do you mind just pulling up? I have a QR code to sign up for that. So I mentioned that we're doing a visioning session with HuES related to the new sustainability action plan. We're also hosting a community kickoff that anyone can come to. So it'll be a very broad kind of big picture chance for input from those attendees that come, as well as a chance to kind of learn a little bit more deep details about the actual planning process itself. So we're really excited. We're hosting both an in-person on the 20th from 4 to 6 p.m. And then if you can't make the in-person, we're hosting a virtual event that will cover the same content and give folks the same opportunity to participate on December 3rd from 2 to 4. So I would love to see you all there. And we'll try to make the visioning session with HuES very unique to kind of that student focus. And this community kickoff will be kind of the bigger, broader UW itself. So would love to see you at both of those. So thank you. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, also a quick plug. I think the Office of Government Relations at ASUW is also having a legislative reception the same day.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, 6 to,
It's a popular day.
yeah, and
There was another event I heard. Yeah.
you can do both.
Huh?
Which day is it?
Wednesday, November 20th.
Yes.
Same,
As, yeah.
but just different time.
You can go to both.
Yeah.
Even better.
Yep. We're trying to make it accessible as possible. Cool.
Yeah, so thanks again so much. Super appreciate you all being here. Please take some sandwiches,
Mhm.
spring rolls. I did that. And yeah, obviously today was much more information heavy because we're hoping that this acts as a foundation to approach your future journey with sustainability through, again, that justice-centered lens, the intersectional focus. And then next one is going to be very staff oriented. And then after that, maybe we'll do like some fun things. Maybe we'll do it. Or, I don't know, you guys tell me in your sticky notes. So, thank you so much, super appreciate it. Please feel free to come talk to me. Would love to chat also, but thanks, have a good one.